Hello everybody, Clayton here at eTrailer.com. Here at eTrailer.com, we install, test, and review a lot of different products to help you as a customer make a more educated decision before you purchase. Today we're going to be working on a 2014 Ram 2500. We're going to be taking a look at, and I'll be walking you through how to install B&W's Turnoverball Gooseneck Hitch. There are going to be a couple benefits to using a gooseneck versus a fifth wheel or a bumper pull. If you're doing in-bed towing, such as gooseneck or fifth wheel, you're going to get a lot more turning radius out of a gooseneck. And whenever you're not using it, the biggest benefit of having this turnover ball is you can just flip your ball over and you have all your usable bed space. You don't have to worry about the extra fifth wheel rails or the hitch taking up room in your bed. And this is what our hitch is going to look like installed. As you can see, it sits right here in our cross member really nice. Everything sits really tight up to the body. Nothing comes into play with our factory lines here. Then here's our arm for our release on our pin. And as I had mentioned, one of the great benefits to using the turnover ball is that it's not going to take up a lot of bed space. As you can see, our truck bed's pretty dirty. This guy uses his truck for a number of different things. It definitely is classified as a work truck. So being able to flip this ball over, not have anything sticking up in the bed of our truck, is going to be essential. And one of my favorite features is these spring-loaded safety chain loops. And if you did want to, you can pick up a cover that goes over this just to help keep any extra dirt or debris from getting into your ball. And to keep your ball secured, there is going to be a pin that goes through our hitch. As you can see, there it is. It sticks through there all the time. Whether your ball is upside down or right side up, what you do is pull a lever on the outside, and then that pin releases, and you can drop your ball in. When you pull your arm out, you can actually twist it forward and have it lock. That way, if you're by yourself, you can go up, flip your ball around, and you can just slide this back over and push it back in. Our hitch is going to be constructed out of steel, so it's going to hold up really nice for a long time, and it has a nice gray powder coat finish to help resist rust and corrosion as well. Our kit is going to include a standard 2 5/16 inch ball, and one of my favorite features is going to be the rounded corners. And this has been patented by B&W to be the corner fit only design. And that's the great thing about this design, like I said, is it's going to keep all that dirt and debris from getting in between the ball and the hitch. And as far as our weight capacities are concerned, we are going to have a 7,500 pound vertical load limit and a 30,000 pound trailer weight rating. Now you do want to keep in mind that's the weight of the trailer and the load included, and the vertical load limit is going to be 7,500 pounds pushing straight down on our hitch. Now it is a good idea to check with your owner's manual and make sure that your vehicle is capable of towing to those specifications. And if there is a difference, always go with the lowest number. And another cool feature of the Turnoverball Gooseneck Hitch is that it does work with the B&W fifth wheel companion. So if you do have a fifth wheel and a gooseneck, you can swap back and forth. You can find those here at eTrailer.com. Now in terms of installation, getting our hitch installed really isn't too bad. There's no welding, so that's going to be super nice. Everything's one piece. The only thing we're really going to have to do is drill 5 holes up here, 2 each for our safety chain loops, and 1 for our gooseneck ball. With that being said, I'll go ahead and show you how to get it installed. To start our installation, we're going to remove our spare tire. Now you don't have to remove your spare tire, but it is a good idea to do so because it is going to give us a lot more room to work. I went ahead and already did that, and our next step is going to be to remove our heat shield. Again, this isn't necessary, but I highly recommend removing it. It's going to be fastened down with 4 10mm bolts, 2 located here, and 2 on the back of this cross member. We can just take our heat shield down and set it off to the side. And I just want to lower down our exhaust. I went ahead and sprayed down our hanger with some penetrating oil. We just want to grab a pry bar. We're going to kind of stick it behind here and then pry against our exhaust. With our exhaust lowered down, we now want to grab our provided template. It's going to be this little square thing, and that's actually going to fit right here in the hole in our factory cross member. And as you can see, there's not a whole lot of play in it, so we just kind of want to get that position there. We can grab a Sharpie and just mark that hole. We want to lower down our template. As you can see, our mark is right there in the center. Now I just want to grab a drill bit and get our pilot hole started. Now with our pilot hole drilled out, we can move up top. So now we moved up top to the top of our bed. We're now ready to cut our 3.5 inch hole with our 3.5 inch hole saw. I highly recommend grabbing a piece of plywood and drilling a hole in this first, and then using it as a guide whenever you're drilling the hole in your bed. So we're going to get a lot better product in the end by taking this little extra step. So we just want to get our plywood kind of centered. Then we can start drilling. Now I just want to come back and clean up all of our shavings with the vacuum. And we just want to grab a file and knock down all of our rough edges. With our area all cleaned up, we now want to grab some clear coat. You can also get white paint if you wanted to paint your truck the same color, or just black, really whatever you have laying around to help seal up those edges to prevent rust. Now we just want to let our paint dry for a little bit, then we can move back underneath and finish getting our gooseneck installed. We're now ready to grab our provided spacer. There's going to be a smooth side and a more rough side. We want the smooth side facing the top of our truck bed. So we're going to take our spacer like so, kind of slide it up between that cross member, and then kind of have to force it into place between our bed and that cross member that we drilled through. It is going to be a tight fit. You're not going to want to use a pry bar because you risk messing up your bed. But once you get it like this, we can grab a flat blade screwdriver and work this over to the center of the hole. You just kind of want to get this centered in that hole, or at least as close to center as you can. And then once we put our hitch into place, it'll kind of finalize this motion and get this directly centered. We now want to grab our included nut plate. This is going to slide over our frame rail through our fender liner here. I am going to put a little bit of bend here just to give us a little bit more angle to get it lined up. These are pretty easy to bend. If you just press them against your leg, you can kind of put a little bend in it. And that'll give you just enough leverage to get this to fit in there correctly. Now we just want to grab this, kind of slide it in. There is going to be some wiring in the way. If you go up and over that wiring, just kind of slide this in here like so. Now you just want to kind of push it like this, leave a little bit exposed here on the ends, and it'll actually go underneath and get it centered with a screwdriver. Now whenever we're sliding this in, it is going to help if you have an extra set of eyes at home to kind of help you line that up just visually first before we jump back under there with the screwdriver. And then like I said, you can use a screwdriver, or in this case we were able to get it just by kind of looking and moving it on the outside of the wheel well. But as you can see, it is pretty easy to move around. So if you are having trouble, you can just kind of stick a screwdriver up in here and then slide it back and forth to get it in place. We're now ready to lift our center section into place. We're going to be using these 4 bolts that are provided. They're going to be the bigger bolts with the darker color and a little bit of thread lock inside of that groove. And now with an extra set of hands, we can lift our center section into place. You do want to watch out for your wiring. Then with that kind of in place, you just want to get a bolt started on each side to kind of hold that center section up. Now I just want to get the rest of our hardware started to make sure it's nice and supported. Now I just want to grab a 24mm socket. We'll start tightening these down. You want to make sure to tighten them in a crisscross pattern to get it nice and even. We're now ready to come back and torque everything down. Again, you want to make sure to go in that crisscross pattern, and then all of our torque specs can be found listed in our instructions. We're now ready to get our handle extension bracket. This is what it's going to look like. We want the narrow section facing towards this, and on the back side we're going to add our smaller carriage bolts. So we're just going to slide those through the back of our handle like so. Then we can take our bracket, kind of slide that end up and over our gas tank and push that onto there. Then we can grab our provided hex nut and get that threaded on. And again, we are going to be using these smaller carriage bolts and our small hex nuts that look like this. You want to make sure you have the flat side facing towards the bracket. We'll just get a couple threads on there. Then we can grab our other one and get that started as well. Now it is kind of tight in here, so if you do have to kind of move this out, you can. Really whatever is going to allow you to get enough room to get your hardware in. We can now come back with our 9/16" socket and just get these tightened down. Now I want to grab our arm. We're going to be using these two front holes here. We're just going to slide this through like so until it hits that bracket. You do want to remember to keep this part facing up. Now we can move underneath and add our hardware the same way that we did on the other bracket. Now I just want to pull out on this and make sure it's not getting hung up anywhere. And in this case we're good. We know it's going to work nicely. We can move up top and drill our holes for our safety chain loops. We want to start with making sure that our pin is engaged. We just want to set our ball into place so it kind of sets up like that. And then we want to grab our template. Our template is going to include our drilling locations for our 3/4 ton and our 1 ton. But in our case we're using a 3/4 ton. So we just want to mark out our 1 ton so we don't accidentally use it. And a good way to check is this is going to be the last 4 digits of your part number. So you can definitely verify that our outer 2 spots are the correct ones. And we just want to take our template and slide it over our ball. Just like so. Now we just want to grab our paint marker and just make our mark inside of our template on each side. Now I just want to grab a small drill bit and drill a pilot hole in each marked location. We are going to be drilling through our bed and that cross member as well. We'll repeat that same process for our 3 remaining holes. We now have all 4 pilot holes drilled. Now that cross member that runs underneath our bed is going to be pretty hard, so you do want to keep a few extra batteries charged for when you are drilling through it. But now since we do have those opened up, we can slowly step our way up to that full 1/2" bit that we're going to be using for our safety chain loops. We're now ready to use our 1/2" bit and finally open it all the way up. And before we get everything cleaned up and painted, we do want to grab our U-bolts, just check the fit, make sure that they fit through there. In this case they do, so we want to pull these back out, then we'll vacuum it up. Now I just want to spray clear coat over those open holes, just like we did for our bigger hole. And again, I'm just going to kind of touch up these edges, just to make sure we're preventing any corrosion. We can wait for it to dry, and then drop our U-bolts back in. And now I want to grab our spring. We're going to put our biggest end facing up, like so. And then we want to grab one of our provided hex nuts. We're just kind of push that spring above there and then get our nut started, just like so. We're just going to thread that until the threads catch, and we'll move on to the back one. This part is kind of tough, but you just kind of have to pinch the spring and keep it up out of the threads, which will allow you to get that bolt started. I'll repeat that same process on the passenger side. Now we just want to tighten these up to where the U-bolt is flush with the bottom of our hex nut. We're going to do this for all 4 bolts. We are going to use a 19mm socket. Now with our gooseneck completely installed, we're now ready to reinstall all of our exhaust hangers, our heat shield, and our spare tire in the reverse order we took them apart. With all of our components reinstalled, we're now ready to finalize our installation and install our B&W sticker. I went ahead and just cleaned off our frame rail here with some brake clean. You can use brake clean or rubbing alcohol, really anything you have at home. Now we just want to grab our sticker. I went ahead and peeled the protective covering off the back. We'll just stick that on. we're good to go. Went ahead and got our heat shield and our exhaust put back. We're now ready to reinstall our spare tire. With all of our components installed, we're now ready to hook up to our favorite trailer and hit the road. That's going to do it for our look at and the installation of B&W's Turnoverball Gooseneck Hitch on our 2014 Ram 2500.